and I just started attracting better quality people. Um, but let me give you some ways that could help some women. I had a woman tell me, Elliot, I will let my man lead or husband lead and make all the decisions for us. And she said, Elliot, if you and I marry each other, I want to be able to beautify the home. And see, this is what we men, I know it's a group of men out there that like to be 50-50, but that do not work. 100%, trying to pay you 100% for everything is far better. And even if one thing that I know is me being a Muslim man, Muslim women are one of the best women to date. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. I think Muslim women are one of the better. I mean, not so much as being Muslim women, but I would say just a religious woman. But I like the teachings of a Muslim woman, how when they go to school and what they're taught and what they're taught at home. So they're wonderful women. But the young lady, she says that she wants to beautify the home, but she said, Elliot, she said, if is it okay if I decorate the house and stuff? But she said, pertaining to the bedroom, I want our bedroom to be your sanctuary. And I was like, damn. I was like, well, this woman. So I said, baby, look here. I said, you can do whatever you want and how you want to decorate the house. I said, I know I'm just paying the bills. And being that she offered, and she said that's what she would do for her husband to let him decide for everything. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And she says, yes. So I said, well, baby, as long as you make sure that we have all white sheets. I said, make sure we have all white sheets and make sure we have white bed comforters and make sure it's 100% cotton. And I say this because I remember years ago, it was storming outside, it was raining. I mean, the weather was terrible. And I was like, man, I was sleeping through this, but I woke up and, we had all this bad weather. And I was like, man, so I'm laying down and I noticed that something was squeaking. I don't know what that was. I noticed that when I got the blanket and I just and did like that, and I noticed that it seemed like it was lightning or whatever underneath the blanket. And it was so funny. I was like, damn. So then I was like, what is that? And then like someone said, oh, Elliot, that's the static and stuff. That must be a polyester. So I said, you know what? I said, never again. And so now it's like when I, have to buy bed linen or comforters, I make sure it's got a high thread count in the sheets, like over 400 or whatever for the thread count for the sheets, or at least over 300 or something for like my rental property, whatever. And even for the bed comforters, I make sure it's like 100% cotton or 100% Egyptian cotton. But that was just funny, and it made me thought of that when she said that. She's like, it'd be okay if you let me, decorate, but I want to make sure the bedroom is your sanctuary. I said, So that's one the respect to me, still respect. And this other young lady seemed very sweet. She says she knows that it's important for her not to argue with me as a woman. Now, she's a Christian, but she knew I was Muslim, but still she respected me in that way to say, um, I know I'm not allowed to argue with you. So I wholeheartedly respect that. Um, that was her thought process. Every time we spoke, she made sure she always respected me. Um, Another thing, matter of fact, let's go back. I told her when she told me this, I said, you know what? I know in relationships that we are going to have disagreements, but let's be able to communicate and talk with each other in a nice tone of voice, um, and respecting each other while doing it, not saying foul language, not cursing, yelling, getting out of character when we speak to each other. Because then, later on you regret certain things that you may have said out of anger. But then again, if you're going to say it out of anger, in some cases that was your thoughts. That's what you were thinking all along sometimes. But at least that's what I think about some things in anger when they come out. Um, just built up frustration and it just comes out. So you have to control that thing. Um, Another thing that I find admirable is when a woman is out eating with me and she says, I'll just let you to decide. I'll just let you decide what to order for us to eat. Like if we are at a restaurant, and I could just be like, wow, that is amazing. I know some women, especially in the U.S., they're not really going for that. Because men here in the U.S., I may have to go back on something I said to where they may confine some women here, but I do tend to think it still would be a little bit difficult for men going to other parts of the world looking for more feminine, cooperative, friendly, submissive, or whatever woman. So I might have to retract what I said a little bit because I was like, the last week and a half or so, I was like, But one thing that I noticed is like, this one girl, she asked me a couple of years ago, probably about a year and a half ago at the hospital. Maybe she was interested in me, I don't know. So she says, Elliot, let me ask you a question. I said, yes. She said, it was something about dating. And I said, you ain't gonna want me. You don't want me. And I said, for one, you're not gonna let me order your food for you at the restaurant. Because I already know that if she was over 30 or thing, I said, the age, and then one more, I'm like, I know and then I don't know I couldn't remember if she was a little overweight, but I'm pretty sure she was overweight and asking me these questions. And I don't know what goes to their head thinking that I would accept something like that. Like, look at me. Anyway, so she asked me this, and I was just like, no. I said, you're not. And I was just trying to let her down easy because I know she was flirting and wanted to talk to me, but I was just trying to let her down easy, like, just try to bring something up, not to hurt her feelings. So I said, you're not going to want me out because you're not going to let me order your food. Another way how a woman has shown me respect is when we're out going shopping, and she says, well, I know I'm going to eventually pay for it. So it says, would you come to the fitting room with me to make sure the clothes that I would like to buy is appropriate? Because some women, they wear clothes so tight and everything. So this was an act of respect, and I would think the woman doing that deserves respect as well, vice versa. Needs to be reciprocated. And back to the girl, I was like, let me give you an example, just to let her down. So let me give you an example. Let's say if I wanted you to lose a little bit of weight, I would order you a salad with a side of lettuce. So we laughed about it. She was like, I don't know what type of woman. I was like, see, I know it's not gonna work. So it's just so that was the easy way for me to let her down easy and just bring up something and be like, ah. So that's what I did. But let's say a woman does that. She lets you decide what clothes that she's going to wear, or if y'all out, she sees something and she's like, hey, baby, is it okay if I wear this and let you decide. Um, so I think that is a sign of respect from a woman that does that. Um, Another interesting thing that I remember a while ago, one of my buddies, he was in the hospital. One of my buddies, he was in the hospital. I can't remember why he was in the hospital, but he was in the hospital for a few days, and I went to visit him. And there was a young lady, and she says, it was a young lady, and she comes inside the room, and she came in to check his vital signs, blood pressure, um, pulse, uh, blood pressure, pulse, temperature, vital signs. And those are like the basic vital signs, like the baseline to basically see what's going on inside a patient's body, to where it gives the nurse, a doctor, um, a baseline to know what's going on. So that's what I said with vital signs. Um, so the young lady, she was taking his vital signs, and eventually, next thing you know, my friend, myself, and the young lady, we start having a conversation. And in that interaction, that young lady, I waited until she left the patient, left the room, and I looked at my friend and I said, "Did you see how feminine and respectful that woman was?" I said, "You see how respectful and feminine that woman was?" And yeah. I said, every time we spoke, two men speak, she didn't say anything. She downed her head and she looked down. And even if she was talking and maybe we said something and interrupted her or so, even though she deserved respect, uh, she didn't get out of character. She just stopped talking and she put her head down and listened. And I was like, dang. I mean, I had a woman, that I was interested in years ago, do the same thing for me. Every time, like, I look at her, this woman would put her head down and bow. I'm like, man, I said, I like this. And I guess it was a sign of respect, but she only did that for a little while because I asked her later about it. I'm like, why you? I like, this is what made me like you more. But I'm like, man, you know, switching up to fake femininity. But that was that. But yeah, I said this is a good thing to show sign. This is signs of women, or being feminine. Um, so that's what I wanted to share. See what else I have, because it's already 20 something minutes. I even spoke with my sister today, and I was explaining to her it's also important for her to date and select men that respect her, and men that are providers, and we had a nice little conversation about that today. So that was what we spoke about. Um, but me going through life and dating these few women let me, you know, basically see uh, what I won't tolerate. Um, like earlier this week, I remember watching. Earlier this week, I remember watching this dating show, and on this dating show, something it was delightful for me to see it. I saw two gentlemen. They basically asked this woman what her relationship was with God, and the woman says she's just now learning, and she's in her 30s. And I believe it was two women, two separate women, in a line of guys that they had to figure out if they wanted to date these gentlemen. And the one, it was closer to the end, and the thing was for the guy was like, how's your relationship with God? Eventually, that didn't go well. Another one, another woman, she says she's learning, getting closer, and she just had started, was lost. But I was like, well, she's learning, getting closer with God. But the gentleman was like, nope. I was like, wow, they must be heavy with their relationship with Christ. So they required the woman to be pious. And even for me, it made me realize what I like, even though this comes up in my mind a lot, to say, even for me choosing a woman, I know it's my task to choose a woman that is pious, religious, that she is intelligent, that she has some wealth, uh, intelligent, wealth, educated, and no, well, educated. Let me see. What's it? I have a fourth one. Let me see. What is the thing? Oh, of course, beautiful. So, of course, I'm gonna get a thing, find a thing more beautiful one. So, well, God will, inshallah. Right? And so, I know I want a woman to be pious, beautiful, wealthy, and intelligent. And not only that, I know that I want one that is respectful, feminine, and disciplined. And I say disciplined because I remember watching a sermon years ago, and it was talking about how like it's good to fast. It's good to do intermittent fasting, especially like during Ramadan. So what I noticed was that um, he said that in that sermon, the gentleman said, if we could fast, we could give up sin. We're natural born sinners, but there's certain things that we could give up. So when I thought about that, I was like, well, that's one way how we can give up smoking and drinking, which I don't do that. But smoking, drinking, and other things. And there's one way how you can have a form of self-control, uh, being able to fast. You fast during Ramadan. You know, uh, for me, I tend to think about those that don't have food, water, and things like that. And uh, I just put myself in that mindset to try to get through and try to have empathy and understand um, what they might be going through when I'm fasting. But then it also teaches me to where I could not sin or not sin as much. because I mean, I'm not that perfect. So yeah, that's one thing that I wanted to talk about was respect in relationships, genuine respect. But I also believe that we have to do things to respect ourselves so we can also give that to others in intimate relationships, and not just intimate relationship, but interpersonal relationship interactions.